Hey, adventurers, welcome to Let's Just Go podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kayla. And today we're continuing our series on Walt Disney World Resorts with Coronado Springs.
Oh boy, that was a weird way to say it. But
It was. You're right.
Coronado Springs. So Coronado Springs falls in the moderate category, right? So we're in mid-range of
Yeah.
sorts. Um, it is a unique resort in that it's the only moderate with a convention center.
I was like, there's a couple things. It's the only one. What are you going to?
So, well, and I think what you're probably going to say it is because of the convention center, right? So there are a few things. So because it's one of the largest, I think it is the largest convention center on property, number
Yeah,
one.
I think so.
Um, but because of that, they obviously have a ton of business folks staying there, CEOs of large companies coming for conventions. And what do
Yeah.
CEOs want? They want club level.
They want to be bougie.
So they've got suite options. They've got like presidential suites. They've got larger room categories, which is definitely unique to that resort in the moderate category.
And also new. Like those opened in the 2010s,
Yeah, they're right,
late
right.
2010s. Yeah.
And then the club level as well, which it is the only deluxe resorts have club level concierge access, and so this does as well. And while it's one of the few I've never been to, it always gets glowing reviews.
Yeah.
In like one of the best they people talk about because it's a moderate, it's large, it's sprawling, probably I think five different bus stops on the campus of that resort, and they have
Sounds right.
multiple buildings. So they when you're looking at it, when you're looking it up, it'll talk about like I think it says exterior buildings. I forget what they're calling it now. They just changed the wording of it.
Oh, yeah. I just know Grand
Destino.
Destino Tower. That's the
Right.
name of the main building, the
And
new
what
one.
right, what Kayla's mentioning a decade ago, a little less than a decade ago,
Yeah.
um, they redid their main lobby area and built the Grand Destino Tower, which definitely is more hotel style, not motel style like the other rooms. And so it's a high rise where the main lobby is, and that's where the club level is. And you have good access to the pool, to their restaurants, to the
To the convention center. Like it's
and the
a
bus
walk-in
transportation.
area.
I would say the one downside is it is a moderate resort that only has bus transportation. So there's no other alternative option outside of Ubering and lifting
Yeah.
um, to get places. So I've stayed in the tower. You stayed in the tower too,
I've
right?
stayed on the tower, yeah.
I really liked that. The location was on point. I've
You know what the
also
tower reminded me of?
a Marriott.
No.
It did to me. I was like, I
Depends
liked
on the
it.
Marriott.
It
Yeah.
was like a nice the you know why the Disney theming is soft there. It's pretty
Yeah.
soft, so it
It
feels like
makes
a
me
nice
think of Riviera. Like
little
I
bit.
feel like when you walk into the lobby,
Yeah,
they both have that. And I mean they were built around the same ish time. But the like vibe that you get when you walk in, the placement of things, it all has a very similar feel. The difference is that Riviera is much like brighter color scheme wise. Like I think that Riviera is more like blues and Coronado is more like browns. So it's just
right.
it's a more muted color palette, but I feel if you want to stay somewhere that feels fancy, but you don't want to pay deluxe prices, I think that staying in the tower is a good move, personally. And I thought it was great when I stayed there. I went from staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge to staying in the tower on my trip a couple of years ago. And I liked the rooms more in the tower than I did at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Mm. Well, and like I will second what you just said. When you walk in, it's like everything's granite. It feels like a deluxe resort, right?
Yeah.
There's like not granite, like marble. It feels like there's marble
Yeah. Yeah.
floors, and so yeah, I would agree with that. Restaurants on point, right? Incredible food
So
options.
many restaurants for
Uh,
a moderate. That's another like difference, right? So because of the
multiple
convention
sit
center.
downs.
Yeah. So because of the convention center, they've got actually within the convention center area a sit down like sports bar, which I have not dined at, but it's open for breakfast, lunch, and
Rick's.
dinner. Rick's, yeah. And then across the wall, the walkway from that is their quick service, which I have had and it was good. There's also a restaurant in the tower. There's two restaurants. Is that right? Am I making that up?
There are two at the top of the
There's two.
tower.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And those are like nicer restaurants. And then there's also a restaurant slash bar outdoor
Three
place,
bridges. Three bridges.
Three Bridges, which is uh, the entire resort is circling a lake, and this restaurant is in the middle of that lake. So it's called Three Bridges because there are three bridges that you can take. They all meet up in the middle at this restaurant. You can also take sangria classes. I've taken the sangria class. That was fun.
Sangria University, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good time. We enjoyed that. So this is a resort that, like you said, it's only buses, which is the one downside. But if you're renting a car, there's ample parking because all of the exterior facing buildings have their own parking areas. If you're in the tower, you have a specific tower parking area. You can take Uber and Lyft very easily. But if you're wanting someplace, again, that's going to feel like more deluxe accommodations without that deluxe price point, this is going to be a great place for you because you've got so much to do. If you have non park days and you want to be able to hang out at the resort, this is the place to do that. If you're okay with having those exterior doors and being in those rooms that weren't built in the last decade, they have been renovated, right? Yeah, they've
Hmm.
been renovated. I'm
Yeah.
like, hold on, am I making this up? They've been renovated, so they're still gonna look nice inside. I think that the layout is slightly different than they are in the tower, but you're still gonna have an elevated feel inside. It's just a matter of having exterior doors versus having, getting in an elevator riding up to your floor and walking down a hallway. Instead, you're just going to be walking up some stairs, the two floors that they have. But it's a great spot. I really like it. I've I had never stayed there until the new tower was added. So I don't know what it was like before.
I did stay. Like I said, I stayed in the exterior buildings. Then the
Yeah.
rooms themselves are gigantic, right? So lots of space for a moderate resort.
Yeah.
Um, I would agree with you. I do think though that it um, is more. I like it more for a childless, like adults only.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Two of the four moderates can sleep five people in a room.
Mhm.
This resort does only have two queen beds in most of the rooms or a king bed. So there's no option for five at all.
Yeah. But they do have the option, again, you're talking about childless trip. You can book a room category that is a king bed, which is not something that you can do at all
Yeah.
Walt Disney World properties. So if that is of importance to you, that is of importance to me. I would much rather have a king bed than two queens. Then that is an option that you can book as a room category.
While you're mentioning that, what's interesting is more times than not, though, the king bed option is usually more expensive. In most other
Yeah.
non-Disney hotels, it's the same price, right? But here, it's going to be a little bit more expensive because
Yeah.
it's a rarity.
Right. And you can put in a request for a king bed at any Disney property. But the difference is if you're booking that room category, you're going to get a king bed. If you're making a request for a king bed, they're going to do their best, but they can't guarantee that they can accommodate you.
You can't go wrong if you stay there, though.
I agree. I think it's a good spot. Out of all of the moderates, I'm trying to think of like the other moderates in my head. I've never I will be staying in 2 weeks at Port Orleans Riverside. I've never stayed at Port Orleans Riverside or French Quarter, and it's been a very long time since I stayed at Caribbean Beach. But I think Coronado checks a lot of boxes for me personally.
I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah.
I don't. The two downsides for me, I don't love the theming and the buses everywhere.
Yeah.
They're the two downsides. But outside of that, there
Yeah.
really aren't many others. The price is right.
Right.
You know,
You got club level if that's a thing that's of interest
It
to you.
feels right. It feels. I always tell people when I'm talking with potential clients, I'm like, when during COVID, when the NBA played at, they used all deluxe resorts to stay at, except for Coronado. There are teams that stayed at Coronado because it was
Yeah.
nice enough to feel like it was a deluxe.
The one other thing that I will say, because again, I stayed there, I stayed there. I got sick, and I didn't leave my room for the however many days I was there, and then I had a later flight, but I had to get out of my room because I couldn't be in, like, they couldn't accommodate late checkout for me, and I was like, I need to be somewhere, right? Like I'm like, I need to be somewhere. I need to be able to like tuck myself away from people because I'm sick and I don't want to get anyone else sick, but I also can't stay in the room that I'm in. And the corridor that takes you from the lobby to the quick service and convention center is full of seating. There's couches, there's high top, like desk
Yeah.
areas. Like it is very much meant to be a convention center. Like that's what this was built for. And it was so nice for me because I was able to just like sit on a couch and play my Switch. I had some work I needed to get done. I could sit at one of the high top tables, get some work done. At one point, Donald Duck came out and was playing chess. Like it's nice because if you're coming as a family or you're coming as a couple and you have some work you need to get done, or maybe like you need to get out of your room in a way where you can like still be productive. There's a lot of opportunity for that, which I think is great.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe you try it out on your next trip.
Yeah. And if it sounds awful to you, don't worry. We're talking about more moderate resorts. We already did all the deluxe resorts. So if you haven't listened to those, scroll back and listen to them. We'll do values eventually. We'll get there. Don't worry. They're just our least favorite. So why would we? For us, they're our least favorite for us.
Yeah. I'm going to say that they're everybody's least favorite, but sometimes your budget just that's where you got to go.
Listen, couponers probably like value resorts.
Yeah, true. True.
But again, let us know what interests you. Have you stayed there? Did you like it? Do you want to stay there? Does it sound awful to you? Keep us posted. And until next time, let's just go.